Welcome to the My Tech Toolbelt podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Brenda. And this is a podcast where we highlight educators who innovate, engage, and inspire through the use of technology. So today on the My Tech Toolbelt podcast, we're so happy to speak with someone using technology, perhaps not in a direct way with students, but both the students and the teachers benefit. The technology that is in Keani Romero's Toolbelt is a website called Donors Choose. Donors Choose is a nonprofit organization that allows individuals to donate directly to public school classroom projects. Keani shares with us some amazing stories of what an impact Donors Choose has made, not only in her classroom, but so many others as well. So, without further ado, our interview with Keani Romero. Well, today at My Tech Toolbelt podcast, we are so excited to welcome Keani Romero to our studio.
Yeah, yay! our in-studio guest.
Yes, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Just to get started here, give us a background of what got you started in teaching.
So I went about things a little bit differently, kind of backwards. I got married and had children first, and then afterwards tried to figure out what it was that I wanted to do. And my husband was already teaching, and I was always going in his classroom and volunteering and helping him with his classroom. And I worked in banking for a long time, so we had all these different educational outreach programs to talk about finances and money and stuff. And so I would always go into his classroom and volunteer and talk about money and saving and all that kind of stuff. And I just really liked being in the classroom. And I also really liked the schedule that he was able to keep because we had children, or we have children. So, he was able to be home in the summer and weekends and that kind of thing. And I thought, well, that would be perfect. I like it already. And then we could have the same schedule, and then we'd have the same schedule in our kids, and it just worked. And so I went back to school. We were living in Arizona at the time. And I went back to school and got my degree in education from the University of Arizona. And then we moved back here and then started teaching at a Catholic high school, and just have really been invested in making an impact in the kids' lives. That's really what I really like to do, just make an impact somehow in their life so that there's something I'm teaching them that they remember. And that's, even if it's just something little, and it doesn't always have to be content, but something, make them a better person, make them remember something. That's what I really like to do.
That's fantastic. And you no longer teach at a Catholic high school, but you're at in Westchester.
Yes.
Right now you're teaching at
Wright Middle School.
Wright Middle School.
Yeah.
And tell us what do you teach there?
So at Wright, I teach robotics. So I'm a Project Lead the Way trained teacher, and I can teach 5 different Project Lead the Way classes. I've been trained to teach 5 different classes, but I primarily focus on robotics because it's so engaging and the kids really enjoy it. So the other classes have they don't have as much hands-on work, even though Project Lead the Way is a lot of projects. The robotics, they're constantly have their hands in pieces, building something, doing something that's really fun for them. And they tend to understand it really quickly or over the course of a semester. So that's what I teach, 5 robotics classes this year.
To all grade levels, 6, 7, and 8?
We mix all of our elective classes at Wright. So they have the potential to be all 3 grade levels in the class, but some of them just have 2 grade levels. But yeah, I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
And how's the gender mix in those classes?
It's pretty good. I mean, I definitely do have some classes that have more boys in there than girls, but I don't think it's because the girls don't want to take the class, because I do have a lot of girls that are in the classes and very interested. I think it's just how it kind of works out. And some of the kids I've had multiple times over their time at Wright, they just want to keep coming back. I want to go back to robotics. And so one class I have is very heavy in boys. And this is my 3rd time having probably 2/3 of the class. But they enjoy it and they just want to come back.
And you do different, each year it's kind of different or each class has different activities?
So Project Lead the Way has a designed curriculum that they expect you to follow. And their middle school gateway program is actually designed in 10-week chunks. So the class is designed to only be taught over 10 weeks, but I spread it out over an entire semester because I find that our students, and I'm not sure if this is age-wide or, wide with all kids these days, but they're not really good with their hands. Mm-hmm. They are really good with the computer and they're really good with their iPad, but they don't know which way to tighten or loosen a screw. Mm-hmm. So I have to start really basic with righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Mm-hmm. That's how, and this is actually a screwdriver, and this is a screw and this is a nut. They don't know those things. They're not building maybe Legos, but they're not building, they don't have their hands in that kind of stuff. So we start really slow, and I've really slowed down the Project Lead the Way curriculum, especially in the beginning where they're learning how to build and learning what gear mechanisms are and how they move and what they do. And then once they start building, then we go a lot faster. So I spread it out over 20 weeks, or I think second semester is like 24 weeks. Mm-hmm. But every year I change it a little bit because I have so many kids that take the class again. Right. And so I kind of have to base it on the class, like my one class I told you, 2/3 of them, probably this is my third time having them. So I really have to change it for them because they've taken it a couple times already. But I do have other classes where I maybe only have 1 or 2 kids that have taken it before. So I have to really start from the basics. They're all kind of pretty much doing a lot of the same thing, but I just advance it a little bit more for the kids who've taken it.
Great. So you're able to personalize that instruction.
Yeah, I try to. I try to a lot. Yeah.
That's great. So at this school, demographically, can you tell us a little bit about that?
So our demographics have changed a little bit over the last few years. I believe that I know that we're still primarily African American. We used to be, I think, more in the range of like 85 to 90% African American. And I think that now we're more like around 70%. We have more Hispanic Latino students than we've had before. And then a lot more, we have some Asian kids. We have, some Caucasian kids too that are coming like from the neighborhood. So even though we're in Westchester, we're a magnet school. And so we get, most of our kids are bussed in from other communities.
And what kind of technology is at your school site? What do the kids have?
So we're a 1-to-1 iPad school. Okay. Yeah. So all the kids have an iPad issued by LA Unified. And then my classroom is also a computer lab. So because our robots are not compatible with iPads. Gotcha. So we need, there is an app, but they can't actually connect to it. With the USB cord. Gotcha. So we're, in my class, 1-to-1 iPads and the computers.
Gotcha. Okay. And so today we're going to be talking about kind of some challenges that you faced in your classroom and the really cool way that you chose to solve some of those problems and how that solution has kind of transferred over into other folks, including your husband and other friends. So the challenge that you were having was what?
We were the recipient of a huge grant, a federal magnets schools of something, I don't know, America, millions of dollars, a huge grant. And so we had all this money, and that's how we got Project Lead the Way. And we had all this training, and we got to do go to conferences and everything for a few years. We were just able to do everything. But then the grant ended, and we don't get any more money. And so I have an amazing robotics lab that we were able to fund through Project Lead the Way, tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. But after a while, like I said, I have a lot of kids that repeat the class. And so I need to kind of change things up. And then I have kids who just want to be with me every semester. And so I really need to add in different types of technology, different mediums, ways to keep them super interested in the robotics, but show them other things that we can do with what we have. So I was just having kind of a difficult time figuring out what I could do with them that would still be robotics, computer science related, but still really hands-on. I didn't want them to be on their iPads just, using apps and whatever to code and learn how to do that. Because I really, really think that the hands-on part is what's different for them because they can use all those apps at home. They all have iPads and iPhones and all that stuff, and they can do that at home. But the hands-on part and combining that with the programming is what I really wanted to keep happening and building and that kind of stuff in my class. And to be honest, I never said to my principal or my administration, like, this is what I want to do. Can you pay for it? I just knew that I had asked for other things, like, could I go to a conference? Could I do this? And there was no money for it. So I knew if I asked for $3,000 worth of Lego robotics equipment, they were going to say no. So I just started going to Donors Choose to see what I could get. And then it just surprised me and then I just kept going, and everything just kept getting funded.
So Donors Choose is a crowdsourcing opportunity where people who want to fund something or hear about funding something can look it up, read about it, maybe watch a video, learn about it, and then choose to fund partial or as much as they want. Mm-hmm. And so there's other sites out there like that. What made you choose Donors Choose?
So Donors Choose is specifically for educators. I knew about it before. I had maybe 2 projects funded through there before, but I had also had several projects that didn't get funded. So I was a little bit jaded, and I was like, it takes a little bit of time to put your project on there. And I just didn't feel like it was worth my time after I had a few projects that didn't get funded. And then my principal told me that I think it was Chevron that was doing some kind of fundraising thing. I said, if teachers are putting stuff on Donors Choose, that's kind of 21st century type of learning stuff, then they're going to help fund it or something. She said, just put something on Donors Choose and we'll just see what happens and make it as big as you want, do whatever you want. And so I put the Lego robotics thing on there because it was about $3,000. And I thought, well, if it gets funded, great. If it doesn't, then okay. And so that's why I chose it, because she just told me to do it. But I knew, like I said, I knew about Donors Choose. I knew it was specifically for educators. And so I thought, well, we'll just, she said to do it. We'll just try it. We'll see what happens. So.
And so you put it out there. When was your first one?
This year, my first one from this year.
Or the first time you used it with this Legos?
The first project I put on this year, I put it like towards the end of September. Okay. I think that was when she told me they were having this program. So I put it at the end of September. And
you put a dollar amount on.
So what you do with Donors Choose, you have to have an idea of what you want. So for example, I wanted to add Lego robotics to my robotics curriculum into my classroom. And so Donors Choose has a bunch of online retailers that you can go to through that they work through. Best Buy, Amazon, a bunch of other education related stores. And you write like a little synopsis of your classroom, your school, and then the project that you're highlighting that you want to do. And then you go to the store and you pick all the things, you add them to your cart. They figure out all the cost, and then they put it onto the Donors Choose site.
Oh, they figure out the cost.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. So like this Lego robotics stuff I actually got through Amazon, through Donors Choose. And you have to go through their link. You can't just go to Amazon and send it to your Donors Choose account. So you log into Donors Choose, you make your project, and then I'm going to go shopping. Mm-hmm. And they have all the links, and you click on the Amazon link, and then it opens up another window and then you click on your cart, and then it sends it back to Donors Choose for you.
Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's very well thought out.
Right.
Yes.
And so is there a time limit, or is it for the Donors Choose timeline? Like you put it out there, and then is it 3 months, or is it?
I want to say it's about 6 months. It must be about 5 or 6 months that they give you to get it funded. So it'll tell you once your project is live, because they have their Donors Choose people who check and make sure that, your descriptions are acceptable and you were, specific enough, but not too specific with what, about your school and your students and all that. And you're, they really walk you through every step. And they even tell you, like, this sentence is going to be highlighted on your page,
Oh.
and they do everything. They make it look nice. They make it look attractive, and it's all done through them. And then they tell you once it's live, what your website address is and what the expiration date is for your project. So I want to say 5 or 6 months, because I believe I put that one on at the end of September. It became live and it was set to expire towards, beginning to middle of February.
Unless it gets fully funded and then,
Yes,
it's done.
it's good. Mm-hmm.
And so you can have multiple funders and then have just a chart going up and up.
And that's exactly what happened with that particular project, because I had been talking about it and I was putting it on Facebook and, changing my settings on Facebook to make it public and asking everyone to share it and just, really being annoying and aggressive with it. And then also we had an event at school. So I printed out all these flyers. And again, Donors Choose does everything for you. If you want to print flyers, you click on it and they make the flyers for you with your particular link for your website for Donors Choose for that project. Or if you have multiple projects, you can just have, your page and then you have all these different projects. And so I printed out all these flyers and I pasted them all over the school. And then they had the ones, like where you cut the bottom into strips. And so I printed all those too. And I put them all over the school and I kept hounding our PTO organization. Can you please send this out in your email blast? And like I said, Donors Choose makes it super easy once you get the hang of how to word it and pictures to add and stuff like that. I can do it really fast now, but before it did take me some time. But like I said, they do everything for you and make it super easy for you to get donations.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
And so you were able to fund the first Lego League robotics into your class?
Yes. So I got all the materials, but I still need to get the money to actually register the teams. So I'm going to start doing that next week at school, hopefully. I made a actual robotics club at school, and you have to kind of do like a constitution and all that kind of stuff so that you can fundraise at school with like sell chips or something like that. And the kids will help us to raise money for the actual entrance fees. So we have the materials, but the entrance fees, and then First Lego League does a different challenge every year. And so they have a different setup. And so you have to get all the materials for that. And that's about $250 per team.
Okay.
And I want to have 3 teams. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So you were able to successfully fund that was like the first big one.
That one actually didn't get funded at first.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I put that one on. It was like $3,000. And then after that, I had I call it a tech cart, but I don't know what it's actually called in outside of the classroom. But it's what I put my projector on and, I kind of roll it around. And if I need to project something, or I have all my tech materials on there and I roll it around if the kids need a microphone or a cord or whatever. And the one that I had from school was plastic and it was breaking. And so I had already put the Lego project on Donors Choose. And I thought, well, I need a tech cart and they don't have any more here. So I'm just going to put that on there and see if I could get a new tech cart.
As a separate item.
A separate project. And it got funded in 2 days or something.
Wow.
It was like so the Lego project was like $3,000 and this tech cart was like a $300 total. Because Donors Choose includes like a donation to Donors Choose, and the person who's donating can opt out of it or make it a less amount that they're donating to Donors Choose. So say they're going to donate $25 to my project, Donors Choose also tacks on automatically like a 15% donation to Donors Choose. And you can manually select to make it less or more or zero. But with the taxes and donations, et cetera, to Donors Choose, the tech cart was about $300. I was like, well, that's a nice tech cart. And if I get it, fantastic. If I don't, I can add some duct tape to this one. It'll be okay, right? That's what we do, right? Teachers just make it work.
Make it work.
But it got funded so quickly. And I was like, what? Yes, this is amazing. And so I have like the nicest tech cart on campus now because I got it through Donors Choose. And so that one got funded really quickly. And then depending on the people or the person who donates, they decide if they want letters of recognition from the students or the teacher. Donors Choose requires you to put pictures on the website once you've received the materials. And they require about six to 8 pictures, I think it is, of the stuff in use. And the students in use. And so if you're showing the kids' faces, you need to have release forms. But you just keep those You don't actually have to send them out to Donors Choose. So that, again, they make it really easy for you to do everything. They require these pictures, and they require you to put a little thank you blurb on your page and your website and letting them know how you're using it. But it's all really easy. They show you examples, if you want, of other people who've written good thank yous. They make it super easy to, drag and drop the pictures into the website. So it's very user friendly. And so, I put that thank you on there for the tech cart. And then I added another project. So I was like, well, that got funded so quickly. Let me just add another one. Yeah. And one of my students had actually brought a 3D pen to class, and she was showing it to me. I was like, that's so cool. I wish we could have those in class. And I started looking them up and trying to see what I could do with them in addition to what I already had in class. Like, how could I incorporate them into robotics, into what I have going on? So I just put those on there, and they had a 1-to-1 match for this company that I got the 3D pens from. It's called 3Doodler. And they were matching any donations to Donors Choose. And so I just put it on there, and I put the most expensive one, so I could get the most pens with all the filament and all the stuff, I just thought, well, okay, I'll just, if I can get it, fantastic. I had some great ideas of what I could do with it in my class. And I thought, and if I can't, it's fine. I don't need it, but it would be really great. And I got funded. Wow. And I was like, this is amazing. Right. I mean, those pens, it was over $1,200.
Wow.
Yeah. And then right after that, I got those pens. I got the notification that those were funded probably like end of January. And I think I put them on maybe in October or November. And then my Lego project was getting ready to expire. And so I really started aggressively posting on Facebook and share and talking to everybody about it, and everyone I knew. I'm trying to bring Lego robotics to my classroom. If you know anyone who can donate, can you help me out? And so then First Lego League actually donated, I think, about $1,800.
Wow.
If you're starting new teams at your school, they want to help you out, like if you have no materials or anything. So they try to help you out. So they donated about $1,800 to it. And I think 2 days before it was set to expire, Staples, the company, came in and donated the rest. Like, there were some little donations from like my PTO at school and parents, etc. And then Staples just came in and funded the rest of it. And I was so amazed.
Through Donors Choose.
Through Donors Choose.
Wow.
It was like Staples for Kids or something. That's what it said on my Donors Choose thing. And I don't know if that's, Staples just goes into Donors Choose and does that, or if that was a word of mouth, like, oh yeah, there's a teacher here and she's trying to do that and you work at Staples, can you make it happen?
Right,
something like that. I don't know. They donated to that, and I had put another project on too, because the way Donors Choose works is when you're donating, if you say that you know the teacher personally, then if that project that you've donated to expires, the money you gave to that teacher will automatically roll over to another project they have.
Okay.
And so I was expecting the Lego project to expire because it was only a couple days left. And so I put on a project for microphones that were iPad compatible, because I have my students do a lot of videos, and then we have all this noise in the back. And so I thought, okay, well, I need 20 iPad compatible microphones. And I honestly did it because I knew that the kids would use them, but I calculated how much money had already been donated to the Lego project from people that I knew personally. Mm-hmm. And so I made the project amount for the microphones to relatively match what I assumed would roll over. And so then that money would just fund the microphones.
Right.
But Staples funded the microphones.
Oh my gosh.
And then they funded the rest of the Lego project too.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just...
So they must have someone within Staples looking at different scenarios.
Because it was like Staples for Kids or Staples for Education. I don't remember exactly. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's just like a few days of like, oh my gosh.
Wow, a lot of great wins right there.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Shout out to Staples.
Yes. Did you have any other corporate sponsors?
So First Lego League, Staples. I'm trying to remember.
Did Chevron ever?
They never donated directly to me. I don't know if they did something through someone else, or maybe they did it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I never got anything that showed up that it was directly from Staples.
Or through
Chevron.
Chevron.
Yeah, sorry.
So they may have a limited budget that says
Yeah.
we're going to donate X amount, and then you pick the ones that they want to fund. And
Yeah. There's so many people and corporate sponsors that donate through there. And I had those projects. And then I kind of just was like, okay, I need to think about what else I really want in my classroom. I didn't have anything else on there. And that was helping my husband to build up he's a PE teacher, but he also runs his homeroom class they work out just by chance, it's all boys, but they're all 8th graders, and they're all looking forward to participating in athletics in high school. So my husband, he's also a strength coach at our local high school where we live. So he helps them to get stronger and do a lot of exercises to increase their athleticism. And so he needed more materials in his gym. And so I did a few Donors Choose projects that all got funded also for him to add more stuff to his gym. And then I just kind of didn't have anything on there. And then I think in April, maybe some person, I don't even know who it was, I just read about it on the news, and I was kicking myself afterwards because they went to Donors Choose and funded every single project.
what?
Yeah, I feel like if I remember correctly, this person made a lot of money with Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh.
And he went on and, millions and millions of dollars funded every single project on Donors Choose.
Oh
every
my gosh.
single one. And I was like, darn it, why didn't I have anything on there? Why did you take a break?
Well, and when you help your husband, I know you've helped other teachers, friends as well. Does each person set up their own account, or are they all using, is it all your account? And
No, yeah. So every teacher has their own account.
Okay.
I'm just managing them. So I actually set up the accounts
Okay.
in their name, and I do everything for them. I'm pretty sure the Donors Choose doesn't want you to do it that way. They probably want the teachers to do it themselves. But I'm just so fast at it now, and I know exactly how to craft the paragraphs that they want you to describe your school, describe the project. Like I've just really gotten good at it, so it doesn't take me much time anymore. I mentioned before that I kind of was, jaded a little bit because I felt like it took me a long time, but I just didn't have a lot of practice. Can you help me get some stuff? And I was able to do it really quickly. And then my friend who works at another elementary school in LA Unified, she's like, I need stuff for my classroom too. And so hers was a little bit different because she's an elementary school teacher and she teaches 1st grade. And so the wording for me was a little bit different, and hers did take me a little bit longer, but she's also had a couple projects funded. So
That's awesome.
So your success rate is pretty high.
yeah, so far, this year's, I've been pretty successful. Yeah.
And you think total funding, just not only your projects, but their projects, is close to $8,000?
Yeah, or more.
Or more?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of teachers out there that are in the same situation you were in, where I could really use a couple more of these, or I could really, this would make a huge impact in my classroom, but there's just no funding.
Can you also set up a funding just to do, say, go to a conference or something like that? Or it has to be related to the kids?
No, you can do funding for professional development. You can do funding for field trips.
Okay.
I haven't checked to see if you can do funding for conferences. I don't know if you can do that, because if you could, I would definitely do that, because I feel like I miss out a little bit on conferences that I would like to go to that they won't pay for us to go to. But I've had another teacher at my school. She's pretty successful with Donors Choose too. She's our music teacher. She just had a pretty big project funded that promotes, we call it Caught Doing Right at school, and, little gifts to give the kids and promotional stuff to, encourage the kids to do good all the time. And so she had something funded through there. And I think too, with Donors Choose, a lot of it, they always have matching offers. So certain companies or organizations will promote certain things where they'll match what whatever your project is, if it fits within these parameters. So a lot of times making sure that you can get something that fits within those parameters really helps to promote what you're doing. My husband's ESPN was matching like physical education type of, projects. And so I made sure I fit into those parameters when I was describing his project. And then donors choose checks to see, okay, do you fit in the parameters of what ESPN is asking? And then you automatically qualify for that match.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm telling you, they make it so easy.
Right.
For you to put your stuff out there. Maybe getting people to actually donate might be a little bit harder, but yeah, they really make it very easy.
Do you have to have the approval of your principal to do this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Donors Choose does send an email to the principal or maybe it goes to the administrative assistant. I'm not really sure. But they are notified. When you have a project funded, they are notified. And so, I only know this because our administrative assistant will print the email that says, you've had this project funded and to look for these materials. And then she puts it in my box to let me know that, it's been funded. I know they also let every other teacher know who has a Donors Choose account at your school.
Oh.
Mrs. Romero got this project funded, or when other teachers have had something funded at my school, this teacher had this funded, this teacher had this funded.
And those emails came from?
Donors Choose.
Donors Choose.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whoever has an account at your school gets an automatically generated email to say that your coworker has had something funded at your school.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And I love the accountability of you then having to send the thank you and the pictures and the pictures of the students. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's when I go back and look at my projects, because Donors Choose does a thing with points. And so when you first sign up, you get a certain amount of points and you can use those points towards projects. And the lower the cost of your project, the less points it requires. The higher the cost of your project, the more points it requires. And then field trips and certain things are different point levels too. And then you get points when you do certain things. So like if you get something funded and you confirm that you still want this I think they give you a week to confirm that you still want it, then you get a point. And if you submit your thank you package on time, so they give you a certain amount of time to submit everything, then you get the rest of your points that then you can use. And so you get more points the more you use it and the more you follow their guidelines of confirming your funding, submitting your thank you package, and then you obtain points and you can use them for bigger dollar amount projects. And so I go back to check kind of how many points did I earn on this one? How many points do I have? And I forget like how the format is and the way they format the pictures and they put them on your site, your page. And it is cool to go back and look. Like if I was donating, I would want to see that, and so it's pretty cool when you go back and see what, this is really cool. The kids they look at how they were using it. Because when you're in the classroom, you're not always thinking like, this is so cool that I got this donated and look how these kids are using it. I'm just thinking, let's do this. Let's learn this. Let's do something. I'm not thinking like, I wish the donors could see this when I'm in the classroom. Right. And you go back and you look at the pictures. I think it's pretty cool.
It is, absolutely. And the donors really do want to see that.
Absolutely.
I mean, as someone, I work with a lot of funders and they're always like, what happened? Tell us what happened. I'm like, well, come and look, if I can get you into the classroom, I think that's one way to do it. But if I can't, then, taking pictures is the next best thing. I had a question. So with the equipment or if it's materials that are being donated at your school, this question actually honestly came up last night at like dinner at my house, because that's what we talk about, is who keeps the materials? So do the materials technically belong to the school, or are they the property of the teacher? And so like if you were to go to another school, can you take those kits with you, or do they stay at the school site because that's where you were working at the time? Do you know how that works?
So per Donors Choose guidelines, they're issued to me for use by me at that particular school. Okay. If I was to leave, the principal would have to give me permission to take those materials to my next school.
Okay. Yes, so there's very clear guidelines on
that.
Okay.
Yes. And it is clear that they're for use by the teacher who did it, requested that project or who got that project funded at that school.
So the administration couldn't come in and be like, "Oh, good job, we're going to go give this to someone else."
Yeah,
not that your principal would do that, but because your principal is very supportive, obviously.
Yes.
And for the most part, most of the principals that I've come in contact with are very supportive of their teachers doing initiatives like this. But I was just curious because right now, not only LAUSD, but a lot of the local school districts are in states where are in a state of transition where teachers are being moved around. And so if this teacher could get permission ahead of time from their principal to take the materials with them if they were to leave the school, if they're going to go through all of this effort to do this, I think that there's kind of, I don't know. We can cut that part out. It's just honestly that came up last night at dinner as we were talking about having you on the podcast today, and I have a family of teachers, so everybody was like, "Well, where does this? Who gets the stuff? Like, if I get all these,
it's a great question.
3D printers,
and I think it's different. It's not Donors Choose has the clear guidelines, right? But you can also request through Donors Choose books, or you know how Scholastic has those, like, what are they, weekly readers or something? You can ask for a subscription to that. So there's some things that can be kind of consumable, or like with books, I don't know a teacher that brings books into their classroom that doesn't write their name all over the books. Right. So it may be a little bit more difficult for the things that I'm bringing into the classroom for someone else to use.
Right.
Because my classroom's different, like 3D pens. What are the other teachers going to do with that?
Right. The ELA teachers aren't going to be like, "Hey,
right, yes, bring those over here." Yeah. So I think with some things could be super easy for anyone to say like, "Oh, here, you can use these," or "Can I borrow those?" or whatever. But I've never had that because my stuff is pretty specific to my classroom.
Right.
And I am also really surprised at how many teachers are kind of scared of Donors Choose too. Because I've had teachers ask me like, "Can you help me? Can you help me with this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, for sure. Let's do this." But we don't always have the same prep period. Right. And our times just don't meet. And I'm like, I can show you that 20 minutes. We can do this, but they're just a little bit scared of it and maybe what the requirements are, because we don't have a lot of time. Right. And so if they're requiring you to write a long letter at the end or something like that, and I think that's the great thing about Donors Choose, another great thing. Again, they make it so easy for you to be thankful, to write your thank you letter, and they really walk you through every step. They really do. So it doesn't take a lot of time. You can do it quickly and easily once you figure it out, once you know their format.
Well, and I think for teachers, one of the things that you just implied was like a 20-minute investment could yield a $3,000 reward for those kids in your classroom at the end of the day. So, putting in a little bit of time during a prep period or at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day or a couple times over the course of a week, could potentially pay off 10 or 20 fold, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so that kind of mindset shift with teachers who are a little nervous or whatever, having you there to support them and being a mentor to them to get this. By the way, we are not getting any money from Donors Choose. We are not.
Not yet.
Growth mindset. We've not reached out to them. We've not got. This is not a sponsored podcast for them. This is just. We have more than one mutual friend. And got connected through Facebook, and you kind of shared your story, and we wanted to also share your story with the world. So, although we wouldn't mind if Donors Choose, wanted to reach out and give us a shout out at the Toolbelt podcast, we'll definitely tag them in the show notes. So, Donors Choose has absolutely, I would think, 100% impacted the way you teach and how you go about getting the resources that you need. And it sounds like it's just kind of helped you become a teacher that can think outside the box. What's next? That's kind of what I'm hearing you say, right?
Yeah.
Just
what else? What else can I do?
What else can you do?
I have had this year, because I've been teaching robotics for a few years already. This year, I have more students who are just more advanced. Really, they're already thinking outside the box, and they find the projects that I start with just easy. And I actually have an advanced robotics class, and I'm always just thinking, okay, what else can I do with them? What else can I do with them? And they're so bright and so techie and just really into it. And so this year I got our PTO to buy remote controls for our robot. We use Vex Robotics in the classroom. That's what Project Lead the Way uses, is Vex Robotics. And so we didn't have the actual remote controls. They look like PlayStation remotes. And so I got the PTO to buy us, I think they bought us like 10 or 15 of them, which is pretty cool because they're like, oh, that was like $300 for these remote controls. And I told the kids, well, okay, here they are. Now you figure out how to program them. You're going to build this robot. This is the one I want you to build. You figure that out, and then you figure out how to program this remote control, because they already knew how to program the robots with the hardwire to the computer and then have it, be autonomous, but they didn't know how to use the remote controls. And so with this class, I was able to just say, here, you figure it out and then do it. And they did it. And I was like, oh my gosh, they did that so quickly. They did that so fast. I need to really start ramping it up, you know? And so that's when I saw the 3D pens and I was like, okay, how can I add this in? What can I do with this? And then I was like with the Legos. And then I actually Googled how to use the 3Doodlers with Legos. And they actually have a bunch of projects. They have a small curriculum for Lego and 3Doodler pens. And so I just printed it out and I showed the kids. We use Schoology. And so I put a picture of it on their assignment and I put a link to the YouTube video that shows what they were building. And I said, okay, these are, you're going to pick your teams. You're going to start to work and you're going to build this. This is what you're going to build. And so they built Newton's cradles, with marbles and the 3D. It's amazing.
Wow.
So that actually functioned. You pull the marble back and they moved for like 3 seconds. It was amazing. But they're going to build a roller coaster from Legos, And so it's like, I'm not just doing robotics with this advanced robotics class. It's just constantly figuring out more ways to get them to think differently and to work with their hands and use their brains in a different way, not strictly robotics, but just more, more building, more manipulating, more problem solving. Here, you need to figure this out. Here's some Legos, here's some marbles, here's a 3D pen. Build me a roller coaster.
Right.
They're so into it and they're so excited. My advanced robotics class has a lot of 7th graders in it. So they're going to be my Lego robotics teams for next year. So I just really wanted to start getting them into using the Legos differently than what they do at home.
Right.
And so that's how I've started to introduce it to them and just constantly with them. They are so bright. They're those kids that are so bright that if they're bored for 5 seconds, they're bouncing off the walls.
Right.
It's a constant engagement with them.
And they're working, you're hitting all the 21st century skills. You're hitting collaboration, communication, problem solving, critical thinking. You're giving them all of the tools that they need to access those skills, and then you're giving them the guidance and the supports that they need in that. And so for me, as a ed tech person, that's what I love to hear, because they're not just doing this at home alone by themselves. This is a team effort, and they can be wrong, and they can make a mistake, and they fail fast, and they fail forward, and they just keep going because you've set deadlines. And I love it.
Right.
How do I get to be in your class?
That's what some of the other teachers say who have a prep period during that. They're like, can I just come and hang out in your class?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the innovation and the creativity that's happening in those classes.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun for me too, which, sometimes it's not always fun at work. Everybody has those days where it's just not a lot of fun, but it's robotics, and my advanced robotics class is really
well. And the skills that are happening in your classroom, whether those students go on to become engineers or not, the skills that you're teaching them are transferable into those other, and you're caught being right. I play on words. I figured it out. But those pieces, those opportunities for the kids to just really be who they are and just be good people, good citizens, comes out of. But honestly, righty tighty, lefty loosey, that's a huge. I still do that.
Right, me too.
Right? Me too. In my head all the time. Righty tighty.
I'm putting my bike rack on my car, and I'm like, wait, this has got to go. I got to go opposite. When I'm doing that.
I tell the kids that at the beginning of the year. I'm like, I promise you'll use this for the rest of your life. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Right. I actually had to make memes for my class, or a meme generator, and I said, use it for little things for the class, because I had one that it was a righty-tighty, lefty-loosey one. So I had a bunch of kids make new righty-tighty, lefty-loosey ones, or like little,
neat.
Robotics things that they don't get at the beginning of the year, but at the end of the year, they're like, oh, that makes so much sense. It's so funny now, But yeah, they're at the end of the year, and the kids that I have later, they're like, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. I'm like, I told you, you will use it forever.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think one of the last question I have, I don't know if Brenda has any more, but like, you've been using Donors Choose to fund your robotics lab. And what advice would you give a teacher who came to you, brand new teacher, and is like, they come to your school, let's say, and they're struggling, they don't have the equipment they need, they want to do some really cool stuff, and there's just no money for them to get. What advice would you give to them?
I do think about this kind of often because, obviously I really feel like Donors Choose has really assisted me in making my classroom a lot more enjoyable and engaging for me and the students. But I think when you're thinking about Donors Choose, it can be overwhelming because I think a lot of times LA Unified does a good job of giving us what we need.
Mm-hmm.
You need textbooks, you need this, you need that. And maybe sometimes they're outdated, but with the internet and everything, I really don't feel as a teacher that I'm not getting the things that I need. I may be just not getting the things that I want in my classroom.
That's a great way to phrase it.
Yeah. And so when I was thinking about what I could put on for that first project that my principal said, just whatever you want, just put something out there because Chevron has this thing. And I said, okay, well, what do I want? What is going to be more fun for me in the classroom, more engaging for me because if I'm super excited and interested in it, then they are going to be super excited and interested in it. Mm-hmm. And that's the way that I look at it. What would be so much more fun for me to do with the kids?
Mm-hmm.
And then I start thinking about, okay, now how can I relate that to what we're actually learning and what we're actually doing? And I think there's so much out there that we as teachers can bring into the classroom, but a lot of times we're so focused on what we're supposed to do, what you're supposed to do for the test, what you're supposed to do for the curriculum. But what could you do that would be more fun for you that would then also, obviously impact their test scores or, what we're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I would say is don't think about, I need something because I got to teach these math facts or I got to teach these sight words or, they need to read this or they need to be able to, do whatever. What would make doing that more exciting for you as a teacher? Is it Post-it notes? Is it, an Apple Pencil or, whatever it is, then do that. And then you being excited excites the kids. And that's with the Legos. My goodness. I was so excited about it because I've coached a Lego robotics team for the last couple of years outside of school. So I already knew it was going to be really exciting for the kids and they would really love it because they love Legos. They just do. But when I brought it to the class, they were like, what is it? So many Legos. What is this, Miss Romero? I wanted to have one of these robots, but they're so expensive. And, and I'm like, well, now we have it. Now we got it. And it's going to be so exciting.
That's so, I think that's great. I think teachers coming out of progressive programs and are new to teaching have all of these really great ideas that they've seen in these classrooms. I think you get some student teachers kind of come through from the university. And then they go into the schools that are not as well resourced as your classroom, let's say, and they're like, wait, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so so something like Donors Choose and writing grants and things like that are ways that teachers can get the resources that they need and the resources that the kids for engagement.
Right.
Yeah.
Why would we not do it for them?
Yeah. If they're not engaged, they're not learning. And if it's not exciting for you to teach it, then they're not going to be excited to learn about it. And you can make anything super exciting, but if you also have something tangible that they can look at and touch and build, then they're just even more excited about it.
The kinesthetic learners especially.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that really are that this is life-changing for them.
And also what I'm thinking is now we're getting towards the end of the year, right? So you're finishing up your curriculum and things like that. And so now you can actually give a project to your students and say, what would you be interested? What do you think I should put in as a donors choose item? Like what would excite you? And I think that would be interesting to see, what they come up with.
What else we can add in?
Right.
Yeah, I will do that. I'll see what would they want to add to the classroom.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially those last few days, where you're just sort of, besides cleaning out your desk and all that stuff, you just need something else and get some engagement with them and say, especially the 7th graders, or 6th graders, like what would you think would be really cool to do next year?
Oh, yeah. Well, my 8th grade students that I've had since 6th grade, I have a core of students who have never taken another elective. They only want to stay with me, and they're super bummed that I have all of the Lego robotics and stuff, and they're like, oh, we're leaving. I'm like, but you could come back and just hang out and help with us.
Right.
You could help us out. You could just be like a mentor. It would be fun to have you,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so not fair that they get to have this and they're going to do it. I'm like, but you were the beginning of it.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
you were
thanks
the
to you.
inspiration.
It's thanks to them
Yeah.
that the future gets the next round of
Yeah.
stuff. And the next generation always has the cooler stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
No matter
Yep.
what.
Yep.
So sorry.
Yeah.
As kids today, they've got so.
Yeah,
I mean, we were just talking about Netflix before we started recording, right? You don't even have to get up out of the chair. I had to change channels. We had to walk across the.
I was the remote control.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was a child.
That's right.
I stood next to the TV and changed the channel for my parents.
This one? Wait, hold on. Let me switch the antennas. Hold on.
Yes.
Right there?
We had
Okay.
on TV.
Right.
It was like,
On.
turn it, switch it on.
Do you know if Donors Choose has an opportunity for parents who homeschool or do anything like that, or does it have to be through a school or a school district?
I'm pretty sure that it's public schools.
Okay.
I don't even know if, private and parochial schools can use it.
Okay.
I'm not sure. When I haven't checked in a while, but when I was teaching at a Catholic high school, I wasn't eligible to use it.
Interesting.
So I did it for my husband who was teaching at that time at an elementary school in Watts. And so I got him a bunch of materials for his classroom through there. And I wasn't able to, but I don't know if they've changed it. I haven't checked that since I'm now at public school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks
you
so
guys
much.
for everything. How do people get a hold of you?
My email address, they can contact me through my work email. It's my first name, Keani, Keani, .romero@lausd.net, or through my personal email too. It's losromeros@mac.com.
Great.
And what about, do you have a Twitter handle?
I do. It's at Mrs. K. Romero. I'm not very good at the Twitter, but I'm trying. I'm really trying. I'm really, after you told me when we first talked how great, I really go on a lot more, but I don't know. I just feel old when I'm on there. Like, I don't understand.
That's me.
How do I do it? Why isn't it as
You need to
easy
take
as
my
Facebook?
class. You need to take my class because
but-
you can set it up to where it's just giving you the information you want.
Right.
That's the trick.
The Twitter list.
I did,
The Twitter.
when I was in my grad school, I had a tech class that we had to take, but it was like so much. And it was like, set up a Twitter account. And I did it, but then there was nothing really, we didn't have a lot of information about it. So I have it, and I don't understand.
Well, that'll be another episode.
Another episode. Setting up your personal learning network.
That's right.
on Twitter. No, thank you. Well,
thank
we will.
you, Keani.
We're very excited to have you in our studio today. So thank you for coming out, and we're looking forward to hearing more about how next year goes.
Yes, thank you. Thank
Yes.
you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And we're out. Thanks for listening to the MyTech Toolbelt podcast. If you have enjoyed listening, please rate us on Apple Podcasts or send us some feedback on our website, mytechtoolbelt.com. We would love to hear from you. This will help us deliver the content that you want to hear. Thanks.